All of you are very, very aware of the tragic death of Rabbi Moshe Hauer, Zichrono Livracha, the executive vice president of the Orthodox Union, really the head rabbinic leader of the entire OU structure. And I know that yesterday, I believe, was a memorial service held in the OU Center in Har Chotzvim. I was not able to go, paradoxically, because Rebbetzin Hauer's sister, Rachel Neuberger, made a chasna in Yerushalayim yesterday. So B'dafka, the family itself was split between the chasna and the memorial service. But Patra below Klum Efshar, I do feel that I have to say something. I've known Rabbi Hauer for many, many, many years. He was a Rav in Baltimore with great distinction for 26 years. He was a Talmud of Ner Yisrael, also with great distinction. And I know that everybody who interacted with him felt they had a special relationship, and I could say I felt I had a special relationship, but not really. The nature of his personality was such, there was such sweetness, such humility, such respect with everybody that he interacted with, that everybody thought they had a special relationship with him. And as Chazal say, Ezeyu mechubad hamachabed es habriot, who is a person who is deserving of honor? He who shows honor to all of God's creations. And if any of you ever had the zechus to even talk to him briefly or even hear him talk, you would see that he was a person who gave you unconditional kavod. And what's fascinating is, as I was looking at the different eulogies and the different statements that were made, I saw a statement issued by OUisrael. OUisrael is a Haredi yeshivish institution to the right of the OU, without getting into all of the politics there. And Aguda is normally not particularly friendly to the OU on a number of issues, although I may hear from Aguda on this. But they issued a beautiful statement about Rabbi Hauer's Betira, in which you could really see the love that they had for him, the respect that they had for him. And that was quite unusual that OUisrael would issue a statement, not just a pro forma statement. It had a genuine affection. I was a little surprised, because sometimes even when Aguda leaders die, I have not seen statements written with the same affection and respect. At the other end of the spectrum, Rick Jacobs, the head of the Reform movement, I don't know exactly what his title is, issued a statement bemoaning the loss of his chavrusa and dear friend that they loved so much. And he talked about the fact that they disagreed on everything, but they were friends, and they talked, and they were united in their concern for Am Yisrael, for Eretz Yisrael, even though it took different forms. Not too many people in the world are going to get accolades from both Agudas Yisrael and the Reform movement. And I think it shows you what a remarkable bridge builder Rabbi Hauer was, that every single Jew on any point of the spectrum was able to come to him, interact with him, be treated with respect, to see that he would see the legitimacy within every position of the little facets of truth that are everywhere scattered. And he was able to be a consensus builder, an ish shalom. And Gadol HaShalom, one of the names of God, is the name of Shalom. And he truly was a godly man in that way. I do want to emphasize that he was a person, in spite of his openness, his achdus, his avas Yisrael, he was a person who was very, very rooted in Torah. He was a phenomenally great Talmid Chacham. He loved learning. He loved his entire life. He loved learning. I don't know, once he worked for the OU, I'm not sure how much time he had, but when he was a Rav in Baltimore, when he was not involved in rabbinic duties, he was in the Ner Yisrael based medrash. I mean, he went. I mean, he learned 5-6 hours a day in the Ner Yisrael based medrash. So he loved learning. He was good at it. He was a creative thinker in Divrei Torah, and every decision that he made, even if he didn't, I guess when he's talking to Rick Jacobs, he's not necessarily going to quote a Tosfos or a Rambam, but every decision that he made was always based on what he took out of the Divrei Torah. But he combined his great knowledge of Torah, and not just his knowledge, but his love of Torah, with a love for OUisrael. He was a man with a mission. There is a medrash in Tana Divrei Eliyahu, in which Eliyahu Hanavi is quoted as revealing a great secret that he heard from God himself, where God said, "There are two things that I love, bi'ahava gemura, with a complete love. I love my Torah, and I love my Jewish people." And Eliyahu Hanavi then said, he asked God, "But which do you like more?" And God initially didn't want to answer it. He said, "I don't want to answer that question. I plead the fifth." But Eliyahu Hanavi pushed him. And Hashem said, "I love the Jewish people even more." This is the Medrash in Tana Divrei Eliyahu. I think in this way, Rav Hauer once again emulated the ways of God. He loved the Torah tremendously. And he loved OUisrael perhaps even more. I can't say even more, but on that type of level, in which every single Jew mattered. Truth is, every single person mattered. I mean, when there was a conference, and this is a little controversial, of different rabbis, even interdenominational, about Israel and the time of danger and all the struggles we've gone through in Gaza. And obviously the point of it was to address the suffering of the Jewish people. Rabbi Hauer, who of course addressed that, and that was his primary concern, but he was the only one who alluded to the fact that we have to have rachamim for everybody, including, again, don't kill me, I'm kind of, I think, quoting him, but including even Palestinian suffering has to enter into an equation. Obviously, the protection of Jewish lives is going to be our primary goal, and he made that point many times. But he said we can't forget the other side of the equation as well, just as when the Egyptians were drowning in the sea, God said, "My creations are drowning. It is not a time for joy and jubilation." Rav Kook once remarked that by Tekiyas Shofar, we start blowing from the narrow end, and it goes out to the wide end. And he said, this is really a message for how a person grows as a Jew and how a person grows spiritually. When you're first born, a baby, the only thing you think about, if we could use the word thought, is what you need. You're hungry. You need to be cleaned, whatever it would be. Your preoccupation is with yourself. As you grow, you eventually embrace more and more people, your family, your community, and spiritual growth progresses from the egotism or the narcissism. Again, I'm not suggesting babies are narcissists, but from that preoccupation with the self to kind of go broader, because you regard them as part of yourself. Yourself becomes expanded. And Rav Kook says that is the remez of why the shofar, you start with the narrow and you blow outwards. Family, wife, children, community, OUisrael, even the world to some degree. And I think in Rav Hauer we definitely saw that growth. Again, at one point in his life, he was totally focused on his learning in yeshiva, which he became very accomplished. As he grew older, his ambit of concerns gradually expanded. His shul, the Baltimore community, eventually the entire Jewish community of the United States, and indeed the entire world, Eretz Yisrael, where Jews were everywhere. And in that sense, although he's younger than me, he was a role model, a mentor, a teacher, someone that we could all look up to for so many reasons. His Torah, his Avas Yisrael, his modesty, his humility, and the unconditional respect that he showed every person. I should also emphasize that he had a special love for Eretz Yisrael, and all of his life he wanted to come to Eretz Yisrael. And he used to say with a great deal of sadness that perhaps his name is Moshe, and just as Hashem decreed that Moshe Rabbeinu could not enter Eretz Yisrael, perhaps that gezerah is on him as well. Although again, obviously that's not a compelling logic. There are many Moshes in Eretz Yisrael, but he felt that perhaps he was nichlal in that. But when he was a Rav, I think even when he was a Rav Emeritus, because he continued to daven in his Baltimore. In fact, he lived in Baltimore, although he was running the OU, he actually lived in Baltimore. But he would get Chassan Torah. And when Hashem says to Moshe, I have shown you the land, Herisicha, but you shall not go, he always started crying. He started crying at that pasuk because he felt it was almost as if the Torah was speaking to him at that particular point. But he did work tirelessly on doing whatever he could regarding the hostages, and some pointed out, although who knows the mystery here, that his tefillos and his efforts were so powerful that when on Hoshana Rabbah the 20 hostages that were alive were finally freed, finally released, and that itself has great Kabbalistic implications why it was Hoshana Rabbah. He died the next day, Shemini Atzeres. It's almost as if he completed his mission. Hashem wanted him to see the fruits of all of his efforts, and then Hashem took him. So Chazal have the famous saying, Chaval al di'avdin v'lo mishtakchen. Alas, for those who are lost and they cannot be replaced. You know, we have many Torah scholars on one side. We have many OUisrael, Big Tent people who are kind and tolerant on the other side. But sometimes it's a little hard to get a combination of the two. Not that many people around. And each one is so precious. Each one is so needed. And when an Adam Gadol, like Rav Moshe Zichrono Livracha, leaves the world, there's an enormous void that is created. And as is always the case, when a void is created, we have to step up and try to fill that void. So if he, had a million things that he contributed, each of us takes on, something, and maybe cumulatively we can replace or at least supplement all that he accomplished. So again, it's really very, very, very devastating. And again, I was at the chasna of his family, Vidafka, yesterday, and it was kind of a very mixed atmosphere. It was a joyous chasna on the other hand, but connected with the shiva, with the patira. Yehi zichro baruch, may his memory be a blessing. And may we, as Chazal say, tzaddikim, even in their death, are called alive, because if we follow their ways and we learn from their derachim, then in a sense their life continues to permeate the existence of that we go through. So, Yehi zichro baruch, and again, I apologize for talking off topic a little bit, but I think it was very, very important. I feel very bad that I was not able to be mishtatef in the zikaron yesterday, so I thought today might be a logical opportunity to give honor to a truly, truly great man and a great beloved man as well.